unalienable rights. That among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. As you can see, the sovereignty of all men, under God, is the foundation upon which our nation was created. The ratification of the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights did not affect this underlying principle, but rather represented a social contract as to where the citizens of the United States exercise their sovereign right to create a government to serve them. But the question is, why is this important? Well, let's look at what life was like in colonial America. During these times, self-government and individual liberties were unheard of. The freedoms of speech and the ability to protest were denied by massacre in Boston. Colonists were forced to quarter hostile British soldiers in their homes. And of course, colonists were taxed endlessly, act after act after act, without any representation in the British Parliament. These conditions, along with many others, sparked protests throughout the lands by American patriots rising up against the tyrannical British government, and led to the eventual Declaration of Independence of the United States from Great Britain. But the revolution didn't stop here. Instead of establishing a new form of totalitarian style of government, even though they had the full ability to do so with the backing of the Continental Army, the leaders of our revolution, like General George Washington, took a careful look at what they were fighting against. They realized why they left England in the first place and what was wrong with their lives under British control. Instead of taking the easy way out, the founders of our nation met together and drafted a groundbreaking framework which led to the creation of the greatest country the world has ever known. In order to properly interpret the vision of our founders, one must fully understand what it means to be a sovereign. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a sovereign is one who possesses or is held to possess supreme political authority. Under this definition, it is the people who hold political power in America. This is one of the many aspects that make America truly unique among every other nation in the world. Over time, however, it seems Americans have forgotten what made our nation so great. The voice of the people and their participation in government, popular sovereignty. It seems that Americans are becoming less informed and less involved by the day. Instead of watching the news, people are glued to shows as trivial as Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader or Dancing with the Stars. The shift from an active and informed population to complete ignorance is happening quickly, and it's taking a serious toll on our nation. America is supposed to be the home of democracy, the place where the people rule, as was envisioned by our founding fathers. But recently, the citizen participation in government has honestly been a joke. During the 2010 elections, the voter turnout in Iraq was 62% of the population, compared to a 41.5% voter turnout in America. In a country where the future of our nation is so dependent upon the voice of the people, this statistic is frightening. Without an active and informed population willing to check any overexpansion of the ruling federal government, representatives in Washington will continue running this nation into the ground with their endless taxing, spending, and regulations. During the 2008 presidential campaign, I'm sure each and every one of you heard someone around you complain about the faults of government. But how many of those people actually went out and voted? It is the duty of every loyal American citizen to vote as active and as sincerely as possible. Fulfilling this duty is an imperative part of making real change in our everyday lives. But it is not too late to save our great nation. When asked what has been created when leaving the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin said, "A republic, if you can keep it." If you can keep it. Those words have been sincerely forgotten over time. People assume that America will always be here. They They assume that America is too great to fail, and is different than every other nation in the world that has fallen before us, such as the Roman Empire. They assume that their voice doesn't matter, and that things will never change. Well, those people are wrong, and it is correcting that attitude and bringing back the idea of rule by the people, popular sovereignty, that will get our nation back on track. As important as political awareness is, you can't expect every citizen to be born willing and ready to participate in politics. Now, I've talked a lot about the duties of every American citizen, but there's one more issue I feel we should discuss: education. Education is the crucial bridge between the possibility of democracy and its physical manifestation. Every American citizen should have an intimate knowledge of their rights, duties, and obligations as citizens. It is time for someone to take the lead on passing this knowledge to younger generations. While studies show that the voter turnout in younger groups is increasing, I fear that they may be acting upon the glittering appeal of mass media rather than political ideology. The idea of popular sovereignty rests upon a foundation of a populace that is willing to check any overexpansion of the ruling federal government. While our founders were still alive, local communities rose up in protest against policies and people that they felt were harmful towards the future of America. It is imperative that we return to a time that mirrors that one. As President Reagan said, if not us, who? And if not now, when? It is time that we return, as a nation, to the policies of our founding fathers and work together to ensure a greater nation for the many generations to follow. Thank you, everyone here, for your time and service to our country. God bless America.